Hello YouTube, this is Asatsi5 and I thought I'd start a conversation with the YouTube community. Um, Basically, the reason why I'm starting this conversation is because I got a comment saying that if you're going to pull a knife out in a self-defense situation, a fight, then you should be ready to kill someone with it, or otherwise don't pull it out at all. Which is true to a certain extent, and I'll get onto that later. Also, here pretty recently, this conversation's been off and on for a while with me and my brother. We talked about the different teaching methods of knife fighting instructors, and you know, Lynn Thompson, Michael Janich, James Williams, James Keating, the differences between them and what they teach, and it's a related subject, and I might talk about that later. But in this comment, I want to stay on that concept of if you pull a knife out, or even a gun in a self defense situation, you got to be prepared to kill someone with it, or not pull it out at all. And this is where the conversation actually starts. Let's start with the knife. Um, the reason why this comment came up is because I talked about the concept of the back off, get off of me knife, which I'm a believer in the back off, get off of me knife. It's appropriate for certain self defense situations. Um, and Basically, what it is, a lot of people think of this knife as a women's self defense knife. Maybe someone is trying to steal your purse or pull you into their vehicle, uh, whatever the situation may be. Basically, you grab your knife, you do a few quick cuts, the person lets go of you, and you leave the situation. Um, yeah, so at first glance, this concept seems to fly in the face of the other concept that if you pull a knife out in a self-defense situation, that you got to be prepared to kill someone with it and not just cut them up and hope that they let go of you. Well, um, this is how I envision it. Um, my favorite back off, get off of me knife is the karambit. Someone accosts me, um, tries to pull me in the vehicle, although I'm not an attractive woman, so I don't see that happening. But if someone tries to impose their will on me, I'm usually going to cut to the arms and then to the neck. Now, sometimes you don't get all the shots that you plan to get, but basically the concept is you give a few quick cuts and you leave the situation. And if you happen to kill the person in the short amount of time, then you did that. Uh, but if you throw in a couple cuts and you don't kill the person lets go of you and does not continue to threaten you, then there's really no need to kill that person. I think the problem is that people confuse the goal of the self defense fighter. The person who is claiming self defense, the person that is using the self defense um, um, as their defense when they get into court or what have you. Basically, the rule for the self defense fighter is to stop the threat. It's not to kill the threat. It's not to restrain the threat or arrest the threat. It's not to stand up and fight and to see who wins in a duel kind of threat thing. The goal for self defense fighters, the civilians, is to stop the threat. And if that means killing that person, then it means killing that person. But if it doesn't mean that, then there's no need to kill. But you got to be prepared to kill. And I want to give you a few scenarios. Let's just say someone threatens you with a knife or whatever, and you pull out a knife, you cut them. Um, you shouldn't have to advance on your subject. Um, it should be you're backed up in a corral, or you can withdraw a little bit, but you shouldn't be chasing your opponent with a knife. You can't call self-defense in that situation. Um, and like, well, I can't say that because every situation is a little bit different, but let me explain the scenario. Um, Someone pulls out a knife, you pull out a knife, you cut them. Let's just say you defang the snake. You cut them, and they can't physically hang on to a knife. They're bleeding. They grab their arm. They're trying to stop the bleeding. They run off. Like I said, there's no need to kill that person. You stop the threat. You have achieved your goal. You did only what was necessary to stop that threat. Um, Another situation, let's talk about guns. Let's just say you're carrying a subcaliber gun. It's not really the best for stopping threats, but it's convenient to carry. I want to say anything from a 380, which I think is a very good concealed carry caliber because you can carry the guns very easily, all the way up to 22 short. Uh, those little revolvers. Um, Say someone threatens you, you pull out your gun, you shoot them, you just pull the trigger, pow, pow, pow. You don't kill them, but they're now shot, and they run off, and they were running away from you. You better not pick up your gun and aim at their back and shoot them, because then you become the murderer. You're no longer acting in self-defense. So there's a medium. You have to use your brain. You have to do what is necessary to stop the threat and be willing to do whatever that means, but nothing more than that. There are stories, or those people in prison because they thought they were defending themselves. Let's just say, for example, someone their house gets broken into. The owner of the house picks up a baseball bat and starts chasing them off of their property. And right before or right when the person gets off their property, the homeowner, has a lot of adrenaline, and he hits them on the back of the head with the baseball bat, kills them. He's no longer defending his house. First off, he's chasing the guy. Um, there's a good rule of thumb: if you're having to chase the guy that you're defending yourself against, you're not really defending yourself. There's something else going on. Also, he killed the guy when he stepped off of his property. He's no longer defending his property or himself, so he's the murderer. The guy thought he was in the right because the guy broke into his house, and the adrenaline was up, so he wasn't really thinking clearly. But now he's in prison for killing someone just because he didn't think things through, or he didn't know the law, or whatever happened. I think they actually made a movie about that. But that's a good situation to talk about. Is when does self-defense end and murder begin? Um, but yes, you got to be prepared to do whatever is necessary to stop the threat. If that means killing, then but no, don't do anything more. I think the back off, get off of me knife concept also works well for law enforcement officers. A guy is the officer is having his gun grabbed at by a thug, and the police officer grabs his knife. Maybe it's a karambit, maybe it's not, and he cuts that person. The guy lets go of the gun in the officer's holster. The police officer is able to take 2 or 3 steps back, draw his gun, and then that police officer can do whatever he needs to do to stop the threat. If the person who is grabbing at his gun um, uh, decides that he can't win the fight and he wants to give up, then he gives up. If the guy continues to um, threaten the police officer can decide whether he needs to use the taser or the pepper spray or the gun. That's his choice. But I'm saying for uh, citizens, civilians, self-defense, your job isn't to kill your opponent in a self-defense situation. Your job isn't to fight him. Your job isn't to arrest him. Your job is to stop him. And stop can be many things. It can be pepper spray, um, it can be a taser, it can be a gun, it can be a knife, it can be a lot of different things. And some of those weapons have uh, different pros and cons, and you have to talk about that or decide that for yourself. But you gotta be in the right. If you use your knife or use your gun just to stop the threat and not necessarily kill him unless he provokes you to kill him, like he continues to attack you and stuff, then you're in the right for killing him. But if he doesn't provoke an extra attack, or if he finds out that you're serious and he runs off, then there's no need to kill him. And you got to remember, the first fight is on the streets. The second fight is in the courtroom. So you got to be able to justify what you did. Um, I guess that's about it. I wanted to start this conversation. It's a conversation worth having. It gets you thinking. Um, I'm not pro pull out a gun and say, "Hey, look, I got a gun. Get back." I'm not pro scaring your um, opponent into submission. That's not a good idea at all. But if it happens, let's just say uh, there's a gang attacking you. You pull out a gun, you shoot and kill one guy, and the rest of them run off. Then you successfully stopped the threat. You killed one person. You didn't have to kill all of them. You scared the rest into submission, but you are willing to take it further than that, and you did take it further than that with one person. So yeah, it's a very very dynamic situation. Self defense is, and if no one talks about this, then no one knows what to do and what the goals of self defense. I think that's the main bullet point of this conversation is what is the goal of the self defense fighter? And my answer to that is to stop the threat, not to kill the threat, not to fight the threat, but to and not to arrest the threat, but it is to stop the threat. And whatever that means in that situation, that's what you have to do. So that's it. I'm Satsu5. I hope y'all have a great day. Remember, keep comments at least PG-13, if not lower, and be polite. That's it. I'm Satsu5, and I'm out.